sure, we'll go through. Welcome to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire from Garuda Promo. Today we have Ahnjel Ali from Ali Optimal Wellness. She's an acupuncturist and an herbalist. Good morning, Ahnjel.
Good morning, Swire. Thank you for having me on. How are you today?
Good, good. Love to talk about health and wellness. For the viewer who is interested to find out more about herbal and how they do their wellness, can you give us a little bio and then tell us a little bit about what you do?
Certainly. Thank you. So I'm a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist in the state of California. I do have a medical license from the state of California. I have had this license for 27 years. And in California, when you go to acupuncture college, you also train in Chinese herbology. So we're able to do both, like many acupuncturists in China do. Some people specialize in more herbs, or some people specialize maybe in more acupuncture. My practice does focus more heavily on herbs. In fact, I customize herbs for my patients, which most acupuncturists don't do. I have over 300 individual herbs in my herbal pharmacy, which most acupuncturists don't have. And I know a lot about how these herbs work. Like, as an example, each herb might be able to do 10 different things in the body. So, that's just quick about that. And so that's my experience. And I'm able to help just a wide range of health conditions. We'll talk more about that too. So basic bio, licensed acupuncturist and herbalist.
For herbs, it still sound interesting for some people. Do they work for people who are not feeling well, or are they work for people who wanted to have a better wellness, or who is right for having herbs as a supplement?
That's a great question. It's the full range. It's the full range. I have people on this side of the spectrum who come in that don't want to take, they feel great and they don't want to have to take any medications. They want to work more preventively. I have amazing herbs that do that. And then I have people who are all the way at the other end of the spectrum who come in and they have multiple chronic disease processes going on. And I have herbs that help with that. So I have the full range of everything. So herbs are great to help preventively so that you can live a healthy lifestyle and prevent problems. And herbs are great to help prevent chronic health conditions that have been going on for years. In fact, so the one thing about herbs how they're able to work is it is the polyphenols. So polyphenols are the active components in plants. So when people eat vegetables, They think they're eating vegetables, or what we've known, I'm going to put it that way. What we've known for all these years is that we eat vegetables for the vitamins and minerals that they give us.
Mhm.
Well, yes, we get vitamins and minerals from the vegetables, but more importantly, you get polyphenols, which are substances like lutein, lycopene, zeaxanthin. Lycopene, for instance, people have heard about lycopene. It's in tomatoes, which is very good for you. All the carotenoids, like in carrot, all those carotenoids in carrots are what give you those health benefits. Well, Chinese herbs have even stronger and more potent polyphenols than even your vegetables. So your Chinese herbs are the way to get more healthful plant products into your body to create health changes.
Okay, great. I know that you have a slide you want to show us, so let me bring it up real quick so you could continue to talk about that. Hang on, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so my name is Ahnjel Ali. My business is Ali Optimal Wellness, and I have had my acupuncture license for 27 years, and I do treat a full range of health problems. I treat people that come in with just a simple cold. I treat people that come in for autoimmune problems like fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's. I treat people with all types of hormonal problems like infertility, PMS, PMDD, menopausal symptoms, a lot of women with menopausal symptoms. I can even help men with infertility issues because sometimes it's not the female that needs some help, sometimes the men need some help. And I help a lot of patients with all types of digestive disorders. Digestive disorders are huge now. And of course, it all comes down to our lifestyle. But digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, also known as IBS, IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. I have patients with Crohn's disease, colitis disease. I have patients with digestive disorders that even fall under the radar and don't come up in the Western test as showing that they're a problem. So I have herbs because the herbs are antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. I have herbs that can make a difference to those digestive disorders. Another digestive disorder that is very common now is called SIBO. SIBO, for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I treat a lot of patients for SIBO, and that's a difficult situation because you have to be careful with it. There's some herbs that can actually aggravate the situation. Probiotics will actually aggravate that situation. So it's a bit of a tricky situation, but I am capable of helping people that get SIBO.
Okay, how would they know that they wanted to try herbs? Like, obviously we have our over-the-counter medicine, and there are a lot of things out there. So what prompted them to try alternative medicines like taking herbs?
That's another good question. So I get patients who have gone through the medical system. They've done lots of lab work. They're coming back negative on tests. Some people may be caught positive for some things on tests, but the doctors are going, we don't know what's going on, but you're telling me you have these problems. So, I don't know what to do. And in a lot of cases, some doctors will actually prescribe an antidepressant, especially for some women, because the doctor doesn't think there's something wrong. So I end up with patients like that who aren't showing up as having a problem on the Western test, and yet this patient is exhibiting a change in their health and what's happening in their body. I also have patients who know there's a problem, they've been diagnosed with a problem, but they do not want to take Western pharmaceutical medication. So they come to me so that they can take something that's natural, which will not have negative side effects to them. So I get that range of people too, who feel like they want to go the natural route instead of taking something that's manufactured.
Great. So you want me to go next?
Sure. Okay, so that's a picture of my herb room. So this is some of my herbs. So we're looking right at the main shelving of herbs. You can see, all those bottles there, and then there's bottles off to the left side of that shelving. You can see those drawers. If you pull out those drawers, there's even some herbs stacked there. If you're standing right there looking at my shelving of herbs, there's actually a wall to the right which has some herbs on it as well. And there's herbs even behind me that have to, are in a different organization that are used as well. So I have hundreds of herbs that I use, and there's not many acupuncturists in Los Angeles or California that have this at all, because I will say my competition, the other acupuncturist herbalists, a lot of them will give people herbal remedies that are already made up. They're pre-made, they're on the shelf, and they'll give somebody something that is already made up. Whereas I can test exactly every herb that could go in somebody's formula to make sure that it's going to help the patient in front of me.
Wow, that's interesting. How do you source all these herbs? There are so many of them. Like, where do you find all these?
We have, I'm going to say 5 main companies we deal with. One of them is 2 of them are companies right here in California, Southern California. One of them is also a licensed acupuncturist with a Chinese background, and he actually even has his pharmacology degree from USC. So he started an herbal company. So he is one of our suppliers. We have another supplier in Northern California. We've worked with these companies for decades at this point, and they manufacture top quality herbs, and they're held to very high standards here in California, which is great. We deal with another supplier of organic herbs up in Oregon. And then we have 2 other suppliers that we just started using as well. So depending on which herbs we need to get in stock, we go to each supplier.
Nice. You want me to go next?
Sure. Oh, right. Okay. So there's the shelf to the right. It would be to the right of me, that with some more of the herbs that we get. Yeah. But we go through them. It's a lot. Oh, so this is a vegan cleanse program that I developed. I developed this after I was seeing patients for 20 years and making a difference for patients. They were getting healthy, taking the herbs and making the dietary recommendations that I had for them. And after a number of years of having my patients tell me I needed to write down what I was telling them, I finally got some time in my life and I wrote it down. And that's why I created this vegan cleanse program. I also created it at a time when a lot of people were doing cleanses, but they were doing cleanses where they would starve themselves for like 2 days or a week, right? And they would get a product from a company, they would drink a protein shake maybe in the morning or the afternoon, but they would starve. And all they would do is have a protein shake. And then they would go back to their regular diet. So I would hear from people, oh, I did a cleanse, and not necessarily patients, but I would hear from a lot of people, oh, I did a cleanse and I felt great. And then they returned to their way of eating and they continued to feel the way they felt before the cleanse. And I thought that doesn't make sense. Why put that time in? Why do that if you're not going to get any good results from it? So that was part of it. I mean, the first part was, yes, I was seeing my patients get better for 20 years over what I was doing with them. The next part was people were doing something that I didn't think really made a lasting effect and certainly didn't bring quality and long-lasting changes to them. So this was my response to that, to write down the information I was telling my patients and create a program that people can do without being a patient of mine. People could do this program. They follow this program. It's for 30 days. The book is a blueprint, basically, of what to eat for 30 days with every recipe for your breakfast, for your lunch, for your dinner. And it's all laid out, like it lists day 1, and it has your breakfast with the recipe, your lunch with the recipe, your dinner with the recipe. Same for day 2, day 3, day 4. And then I created these 4 herbal formulas to go with it, because that's how I get my patients healthy, is I put them on herbs and I change their diet. So I designed these 4 herbal formulas to go with it. So this program came about after helping people for years and seeing what herbs and a change in diet can do. It came about very organically, in the sense that I didn't set out to create a cleanse because it's, I wanted to create a business. No, I already had a business. This came out of the good changes from that business. So that's.
Do you think 30 days is a good progress for people who like to improve the general wellness?
30 days is good, right? See, 3 days is definitely too short. You can't make good changes in 3 days. And it's not long enough to create lasting changes in your body. 14 days, if you do a 14-day program, it's still definitely better than a 3-day program. And as long as you've learned something that you can institute and keep in your life for those 14 days, great. Because during those 14 days, if you made enough changes and you're feeling better and you've changed your health, that's great. But I've seen a number of studies that show that, if you do something even for 28 days, you get much more lasting results. And for a lot of patients, or people, the big thing is to change what's going on in their intestinal tract, which this cleanse will definitely do.
Yeah, after 30 days, it becomes a habit. I think you got to change the way that what you put into your mouth, and then a lot of time it doesn't work as like you suggest. 3 days, even 5 days. Then they show all kinds of picture. They're improving, but then after that, they're not eating. They're not feeling themselves, and they decide forget it. We're going back to the old way that we have. So I think it's a process, and you got to be patient. Any lifestyle change, even with what you're doing with your wellness, it takes time. If you are not accustomed to a certain elements, then you have to give your body and yourself to be ready for it.
Right. Yeah. And so 5 of the goals that I had in creating this program, the first was I want to teach people to eat healthfully. The second was I wanted to teach people that they could sustainably eat healthfully for the rest of their lives. The third goal was that I wanted to teach people that eating vegan does not mean eating rabbit food or salads every day, because that's not the reality. The fourth was that I wanted people to see that they could make changes that they could feel and see on themselves. And that's what happens over the 30 days versus 2 or 3. And the fifth goal was I wanted to teach people how to eat healthfully, for the rest of their lives, and eat real food as opposed to processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So there we're looking at, my goals. Right. Those are my 5 goals. Right. To help people eat real food every day. That's real important, especially in this culture in our society. A lot of us move so fast, and it's out of convenience that many people just grab foods on the go all the time. The problem, of course, with most of those foods are they're processed. So it's not going to help your intestinal tract. They don't support your immune system. They certainly don't support your brain health. They're bad for your liver. And so cumulatively, they do make changes to your health, and that's not worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is something else that came about as a result of me, using herbs to help people. These are fairly new. These are herbal latte mixes, and I'm calling this company It's a Brain Thing, because each of these really supports brain health very well. So the first one that came about is the turmeric latte mix, and turmeric, as everybody knows, is highly anti-inflammatory. Not only is it highly anti-inflammatory, it actually protects the brain. It has a neuroprotective effect. It can help prevent Alzheimer's and even Parkinson's. Turmeric, along with being anti-inflammatory, has antibacterial properties, antiviral properties, antifungal. It can help with cancer. I wouldn't say it's a substitute to seeing an oncologist. I really think anybody with cancer should be under the care of an oncologist. I want to be really clear about that. But turmeric does have some anti-cancer effects, I will say, and it really helps to develop a healthy microbiota in the intestinal tract. So it's very good for your large intestine. So turmeric latte mix is the first one I came out with, and it not only does it have turmeric in it, but it also has adaptogenic herbs in it, which are really good to promote the glands in your brain. So these herbs, these adaptogenics that promote the health and restore the glands in your brain, that means your thalamus is going to work better, your pituitary, your hypothalamus. And when all those glands get healthier and healthier, like back to how they were when you were in your 20s, you're going to function better, you're going to think better, you're going to sleep better. I hear from everybody who uses these that the quality of their sleep is so much better. And all those adaptogenics are really good to help reduce inflammation as well. They're all very helpful for autoimmune diseases. They're very helpful to lower cholesterol, to lower blood pressure. They're really good at lowering blood glucose levels, A1C levels. So for somebody who has diabetes or has metabolic syndrome, which means they're on their way to developing diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that is, these are very good. Every single one of the latte mixes is very good at that. So these are something that I just came out with. So new that the website isn't even done yet. The only way to get these right now is through my office. So They're wonderful. And the people that have tried them really do love them. And I'm very happy with how everybody's feeling on them. I heard from one mom, the first time she used one of them, she had so much energy, she didn't know what to do with herself. And so the thing is, so the turmeric latte one being anti-inflammatory, it does dilate the blood vessels a little bit. So it's really good to help you feel energized, and there's no caffeine in there at all. So that turmeric latte mix is great, whether before a workout, is also great after a workout. The other two, so the superfood maqui cacao, that one is fabulous at because it's higher in the adaptogenic herbs. So it's great as a recovery drink. It's also great to have in place of coffee. This one's great to have in place of coffee because of the flavor of it, number one. But number two, it's got cacao. And cacao, while it's not caffeine, because sometimes people think that there's caffeine in cacao, it's not caffeine. The molecule is actually theobromine, which is a sister to caffeine, and theobromine does act on the adrenal glands. So there's a little action on the adrenal glands to produce a little bit of adrenaline, not nearly like coffee. But then the other thing that happens is you don't feel agitated and wired like coffee. You just feel a little bit of a boost of energy. But because of the adaptogenic quality of cacao, as well as the other herbs in that superfood maca cacao mix, their brain also just feels alert, but not wired. And yet they feel calm at the same time because of that adaptogenic property. And then that person is going to sleep great at night as well.
Great. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, Ahnjel. I know, there's a lot of information out there, and then you could certainly help a lot of people. So by the way that we're in right now with COVID, I'm sure that you get a lot of questions probably from your patients and from people anywhere in between. Are there any way that what you do can help them be more prepared for the craziness out there?
Yeah, we've been dealing with this with patients for the last few months. We've learned a lot, as everybody in the world has learned a lot right now about this virus. It's all been a learning process because it is a virus that was never before seen in humans. So then once it crossed over to humans, we had a lot to learn, and we had to learn fast because it's a very aggressive virus, as people have seen. It can attack many organ systems, so it's not just the lungs. It does affect the lungs very badly first. It affects the liver. It affects the intestinal tract. In fact, I'm going to back up. It actually affects the intestines first. They can find residue of viral proteins in the stool before people actually exhibit lung symptoms. So it's in the body first. It does affect the intestines, then affects the lungs, does affect the liver, it does affect the brain, and it does affect the kidneys. Some people end up with acute kidney injury, which can be a chronic problem as well. So this is a virus that we're learning about, and like I said, we've learned as we've gone along. In my field, I'm very lucky that I have herbs that actually can help this virus as far as we know. And here's why I can say that. Since SARS was so the original coronavirus was CoV-1, SARS-CoV-1. That was in 2002. And then there was the MERS virus in 2012. So what we already know is that there are herbs that were effective to combat the SARS-CoV-1, and there are herbs that were effective against the MERS virus as well. And I have some of those herbs in my herb room all the time for patients ever since this, and they are very effective. Some of those herbs actually block the virus from attaching to the cell and going into the cell to begin with. Some of them can stop the virus from replicating at all. So there's a number of different mechanisms by how these herbs work to block that virus from being successful if you have come into contact with it.
Wow. Okay. So how about you as a business, a clinic? How have you been affected by all the virus, and if so, how are you doing things differently to keep it sustainable and obviously helping your patients?
So initially, when everything in Los Angeles closed down in March, I'm very fortunate that my business is mostly custom making herbal formulas for my patients as opposed to doing physical acupuncture. So I was able to still treat my patients over the phone. I was able to have phone calls with them, test which herbs are still going to help them for their health situations. I would go make their formula in my herb room. We would ship their herbs to them, or the people that lived close enough, they could come pick up their herbs from the stairwell. They wouldn't even come near us, near my
Hmm.
reception. They would come pick up their herbs from the stairwell and just walk out. So we were able to adapt that way in the beginning. And then just a few weeks ago, when we did open up our practice, I changed how I schedule my patients. So if I have one, so everybody, of course, wears masks. I take their temperature when they come in. I have an ox pulse meter. I check their oxygen saturation rate. And as long as those are fine, then they will come into my consultation room. If we both still have masks on, me and my patient, I can do my testing system. I'll make them their herbs, give them their herbs. Once they leave, I sanitize all the surfaces, the chair they sat on, the handrail to the stairs. And then the next patient that I see does not come in person right after that. I have a UV filter, a UV air purifier that I have blowing, so to change any viral air particles. And so if I have an in-person patient, the next appointment right after is a phone consultation. And then the person after that can be an in-person. So I'm only seeing every other patient in person. So they're spaced out. There's cleaning protocols and the temperature, the gauge checks as well. So I need to make sure that my patients feel safe coming to me. I want them to know that they can come in my office and it's a safe environment for them.
Do you think a UV filter works? It's a random question, but I heard, as a medical professional, you're using it. Do they really help, clean out the residues in the air, you think?
From the research I've seen, they do help. It does make a difference. And I, of course, place my money on that bet because I'm going to take those safety precautions for the sake of my patients coming in. So from what I see, it does make a difference. Even before researching the UV filters, what we all heard was that you can be somewhere and viral particles can be in the air, which is a reality. Something else that they saw with patients in the hospital, patients who were extremely sick in the hospital, even patients on ventilators, that hospital room would have viral particles in the room. So those frontline healthcare workers were being exposed in that environment when a very sick person is breathing these out. Again, yes, the sicker the person was, the more viral particles would be in the air. That makes perfect sense. It's in a ratio.
Hmm.
But the viral particles do exist, and I do believe that the UV filters make a difference.
Okay, good to know. It's just a question that I wanted to know. How about, one more question about that. I'm here, uh, God knows where we use our phones. We're on the phone all the time. And I see the UV filter now that you could put your phone in it. So I think one of the most dirty object that we touch will be our phone because we're on the phone all the time. And then, it might touch something and then we're on it and then we touch our face. Do those work?
That's interesting. You know what? I didn't even know those were available. So that's new information for me. I'm going to research that one. I hope they do. I hope they do work because you're right. Our phones are one of the most dirty products that we touch. We've known that even before the phones, the computer, keyboards are filthy,
Yeah.
right? So we know that. And sometimes they're filthier than your kitchen sponge. Well, the phones, right? We're talking all over the place. We're tapping wherever we are. Then we put the phone down, we pick it up, and this is going on all the time. So yeah, our phones, probably have a lot of bacterial exposure, viral exposure, and I don't even know what else.
Final question I have for you, and it's kind of a big question. So with all the virus going on out there and all the information that is bombarded with us, especially medical advice, so how would you advise a regular person for their wellness? What precautions should they take? Are there any supplements that you would suggest? And can you give us a broad overview to the viewers?
Thank you. That's a good question. So very importantly, I get my patients to drink 3 liters of water a day. And this was even before COVID-19. Drinking a lot of water will help flush your mucous membranes, keep flushing out your sinuses, keep flushing the back of your throat. So drink 3 liters of water a day. Definitely either cut out sugar completely or reduce sugar in your diet. And most people could improve their vegetable intake and increase their vegetables to maybe even 2 or 3 servings a day, getting those healthy polyphenols and the fiber that the vegetables can provide for you. Vitamin C can be immensely helpful for the immune system. There's a lot of research on that. Vitamin D is very important to help the immune system. There's a lot of research on that. And zinc can be very helpful for the immune system as well. So I do recommend people, especially right now, take vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. I also have in stock, I have a formula that we call cold and flu formula. And this is something that I reformulate every single year. And this got reformulated in January, and it is filled with strong antiviral herbs that should help combat this coronavirus. Should help. And that's based on that information that I gave earlier. There are herbs in this formula that were known to help the SARS-CoV-1 and against the MERS virus. So some of those herbs are in that cold and flu formula. So that's something that many of my patients have used preventively, and we keep making it and keeping it in stock in our office. So that's very helpful. Yeah. So those are the big things.
So I'm putting your information here. I'm sure if viewer has a lot of question about, in particular, for their health, go ahead and call Ahnjel or send her an email, and then we can go from there. And thank you so much for the information. I know this is a timely interview, and people obviously worry about their wellness and health. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Swire. It was so nice to hear from you. I'm so happy to see you and see you're doing well.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.